Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome to another macro photography tutorial. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to shoot leaves using some interesting lighting and some really handy techniques. So I'm going to get started and I'll see you in just a sec. In the winter we shot dried leaves, which were really interesting. We backlit them and got some cool colours and things on there. I'll link the video up in the description if you want to go and check out dried leaves. Now's about the right time to be collecting those leaves so that they dry out nicely in the autumn time, and then you've got some dried leaves ready for the winter. But it's the summer, so we've got some really big green healthy leaves. I've got a few different kinds here to try out. Some are a little more healthy than others, but they're all going to make some really cool images. I'm going to be shooting freehand for a lot of this, simply so that I've got that freedom of movement to move around all of these leaves and explore. So there's not a lot of setting up to do. I'm just going to jump straight in and have a look at these leaves. If you're wanting to shoot indoors at home like I am and bring your leaves into a controlled environment, the one thing you're going to need to do is consider your lighting. Outdoors we obviously have the sun and we don't have a lot of control over that. It comes from one direction, it's up to the clouds whether or not it's diffused, and you might even be in a forest where you're in shade. Indoors though, we can really take control over exactly where we want our light and we can explore our leaves with a lot of control. In the last leaf video we attached the Adaptalux Studio control pod to the hot shoe of our camera and we moved around with our lighting. Today we're going to take the technique that we used in the second half of that video and move our lighting around independently of the camera. So I can plug in a lighting arm here and I can move it around to exactly where we're about to take our shot. The other thing I'm really excited for is the fact that we're shooting on this glass coffee table, which makes it really easy to take our lighting down underneath and shine it through the glass to the underside of our leaves. Shining the light through the leaves creates these really amazing effects where you can see all of the individual veins and cells in the leaves, and if you can get close enough with your macro lens, they really stand out, they can be really sharp and then make really cool images. So this is what I'm going to start with. I'm going to be popping my Adaptalux Studio onto a mini tripod and getting some coloured shots of the top of our leaves before moving underneath. I've been getting some pretty cool shots so far, just shooting down from above using two lighting arm S's, which are our super bright version of our normal white lighting arm. They just provide white light out of the end here with a little focused beam. We've then been using green and yellow colour filters to add some colour onto the surfaces of these leaves from two different directions. Now, green and yellow actually make really nice... I was about to say that green and yellow go really well together, which they do, but they also complement the greens and yellows in the leaves. As I was taking a look at the leaf, though, that I was going to demonstrate that with, I noticed something. So I'm going to take a quick detour and show you our little visitor here. I spotted this little spider making his home in one of the folds of the leaves, and you'll see me keeping an eye on him. I'm not a huge fan of spiders, but you can't resist that opportunity to go and investigate when you find interesting things like that in subjects. Now I'm going to go and put this leaf back outside. I don't want to disturb him any more than I already have, but then we'll get back to shooting our leaves. With our visitor back outside, it's time to carry on taking a look at our leaves, as interesting as he was. Now, I'm going to start lighting these from behind, which is going to be really interesting. You're probably not going to be able to see too well on this camera, but shining light through leaves is going to highlight all of these veins that we have on the back of them. It's also going to, if you can get close enough, highlight a lot of the cells and the structure of the leaf. The next thing you need to consider with leaves is your focus and your depth of field. Focus is really important in any photography, but with macro photography it's even more important, because when you get up close, your depth of field is very, very shallow. Now, your depth of field is how much of your image is in focus. Moving backwards from the lens, different parts of your image is going to be in focus, and that's what you're focusing on, is that point where you're dead center in your depth of field. So, depth of field is changed by your aperture. Most of the time you're going to be wanting to shoot at quite a narrow aperture to keep your depth of field quite wide. For a lot of macro photography though, getting light in the right places is pretty tricky, and you might have to widen your aperture, narrowing your depth of field even more. This becomes a problem pretty quickly when you're shooting at an angle. It means that only a very shallow slice of your image is going to be in focus at any one time, unless you can make that slice parallel with the front of your lens. With leaves, this is pretty easy. With our dried leaves that we were shooting, it was pretty tricky to get everything flat because they'd all curled over and dried, and they were all crispy, so flattening them didn't really work. With these brand new leaves though, we've got nice flat surfaces. So, when you're lighting your leaf from the underneath, you can widen your aperture quite safely, providing that you're absolutely parallel with your subject. So shooting down from the top of your leaf, you can either use a tripod to get it exact, and even use a spirit level on top of your camera to make sure that you're parallel with your subject, or you can just handball it and see what your results are. It depends on your proclivity to attention to detail. Now, I don't have the best eyesight, so handballing, trying to focus on something like this is not necessarily the best idea if you can't see whether something is in focus or not. If you've got an autofocus lens, now would be a great time to use that. Usually we're using manual lenses on macro shots, but because we're shooting against a flat surface, you can trust your autofocus to find the right spot there. If you're like me and you would prefer to do this on a tripod, that's absolutely fine as well. As long as you're looking down onto your lens, you're going to get these really amazing images of the veins shining through and all of those individual cells and parts of the leaf. As expected, these techniques are creating some really cool images of our leaves. Different to last time, shining the light up through the leaf is creating really, really vivid colours, bright greens. You're seeing all of the structure of the cells and of the leaf, unlike last time where we were looking at browns and the different colours of the decay happening within the leaf. Now we've got this really bright green, which is absolutely fantastic and makes for some really striking images. Something that I have found, other than a surprise spider, is that the different types of leaves make drastically different types of images. A lot of leaves have waxy films over them to repel water, and they are much harder to shine light through, and they're much harder to light from the top as well, because you get a lot of reflections. Moving your lighting around is absolutely critical if you want to get some interesting shots of leaves like these. For example, holly is particularly difficult to shoot, not only because it's got this waxy film, but also because it tends to have a curved surface, so we can't use our technique of shooting straight down parallel on top of the leaf. Now, pretty much everybody in the world has access to some leaves of one sort or another. I'd really like to know what you think to the leaves that I've shot today and the results that I've got as well, which you can see through the links down in the description. While you're down in the description, make sure to leave a comment letting us know what you think, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see some more macro photography tutorials, ideas and inspiration in the future. That's it for now though guys, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time.